Hello, and welcome back to another video. This is the 6th episode of story in which Naruto and Shikamaru were the only survivors of the Fourth War. Kurama, seeing them fade, sent them back to the Jonan days to prevent the war. Make sure to click the like and subscribe buttons. Now let's begin. A war? Minato's head snapped to look at his son, on guard. Kind of. Shikamaru rubbed his neck before he sighed. What nations are involved? Hashirama asked worriedly. It is not going to involve any nations if we have a say in it. It will however involve Madara Uchiha, Obito Uchiha, Black and White Zetsu and the goddess Kaguya. Trust us, they can and will destroy the 5 nations if they get the chance. We are here to stop them before they can, Naruto said, his voice dark and firm. Madara Uchiha huh? Hashirama ran a hand over his face as he absorbed the words. Obito? Obito is dead, Naruto. Minato spoke up confused. His voice sad as he spoke of his dead student. He did not die that day, he was found by Madara Uchiha and Zetsu. His mind was warped and filled with hatred. He unfortunately saw Kakashi kill Rin and he was overcome by her death without knowing the reason behind it. He let himself be completely taken over by Madara and Zetsu's teachings. He is still in there and can be reached, but it will be difficult. Naruto explained gravely. If the Obito I knew is still there then I will get him back, Minato said, eyes flashing showing his determination. Now I know where you get it from, Shikamaru whispered to Naruto, the blonde just elbowed the Nara. This is going to be an uncover operation, no nation is to find out about what is going to happen in the next hours. In time they will become the allied shinobi forces, but I rather it not happen during the war. Naruto made eye contact with each person in the room seeing agreement and some confusion to his words there. Hiruzen Sarutobi, my student. Is he here? Tobirama spoke up suddenly. Ajigi? He is still back in the village with Uro-Sennin and Bachan, I believe he is currently training Sasuke, Naruto said and Tobirama relaxed hearing his student was alive and well. Speaking of Sasuke, don't worry about him anymore Itachi. He knows the truth about the Uchiha massacre and is training to get stronger so you can come home to him, so you don't have to be a missing nin to protect him any longer. Naruto explained. Itachi blinked in shock at Naruto's words before he smiled a bit and Minato growled at the mention of the massacre and muttered under his breath about Danzo. You should get the others, we'll meet you at the battlefield. Shikamaru spoke up and Naruto nodded as he pulled out a 3-pronged kunai with a Hiraishin seal on the handle. He handed it to Shikamaru who attached it to his belt beside Asuma's trench knives and stepped away from the blonde. I'll meet you at the battlefield Shika. Naruto gave Shikamaru an Anbu salute before he disappeared in a flash of yellow and orange. That was the Hiraishin, Kushina gasped as he looked at her husband who was staring at the 3-pronged kunai on Shikamaru's belt. Naruto learned it? Minato asked Shikamaru. Not only did he master the Hiraishin, he mastered the Rasengan in a week and then perfected it by adding in his Churka nature futon, Shikamaru said bragging about his Hokage. Naruto. Minato smiled bright and proudly. Konan-san, could you bring down the shrine? We need to get moving. Shikamaru turned to the Almei woman who nodded and held her arms up. The shrine around the group turned to pieces of paper that reattached themselves to her outstretched arms, the former Hokages looking impressed. Shikamaru then led the group down a path in the forest towards the battlefield. Who did Naruto go to get? Kushina asked as she held hands with her husband, happy she could be near him once more. The rest of the Jinchurikis, Shikamaru said and chuckled internally at the frozen forms of those around him. The rest of the Jinchurikis? You mean? Tobirama trailed off. All 9 of them, it will be a sight to see them all fighting together. I mean watching Naruto and Kurama fighting in their shroud is a sight to behold, but the others should also have mastered their own shrouds by now. Shikamaru rambled enjoying this a bit too much as he herded the group further down the road. How? Each tailed beast is locked within a Jinchuriki with no way to communicate, more so the beasts will be in a rage if they are released. Mito spoke up. Speaking from experience as the first Jinchuriki for the Kyuubi. A lot has changed Uzumaki Senju-sama, Shikamaru said respectfully. The tailed beasts are on our side and each one has a relationship with their Jinchuriki, just be glad they are on our side this time around. What do you mean by this time around? Itachi spoke up, mind worrying. When we finish this battle Naruto and I will explain everything, now stand back. Shikamaru pulled the kunai from his belt and threw it into the ground a far bit from the stopped group as the seal started to heat up and glow. The group had stopped on a cliff overlooking a barren field, the same field the final battle had taken place in Shikamaru and Naruto's timeline. It was fitting that they would win once more in this place. The seal flashed and a dust cloud appeared as 9 figures suddenly appeared in blurs of colors. I think I may throw up. A young female voice made its way to the assembled group. Naruto, I am going to give you a first-hand experience of my sand burial. Gaara growled. Ah, come on you guys. A group Hirashin wasn't that bad. Naruto laughed only to get growls in return as the dust settled. Naruto walked back towards the other group of ninjas with a huge smile on his lips. A small version of Kurama sat on the blonde's head with his 9 tails flared up behind him. We're back. Oh, let me introduce everyone. Well, first off, this is Kurama the 9 tails. Say hi Kurama. Naruto pointed at the red fox on his head. Bite me. Kurama deadpan, digging his claws into the blonde's head, amused at the horrified looks he was getting from the previously deceased shinobis. He's not a people person, Naruto explained, not wincing at stinging on his scalp. Naruto, are you sure having the 9 tails out like this is a good idea? Kushina asked, worried for her son's safety and confused at how it was possible that there was outside of the seal like this. It's fine Kasan, trust me on this. Kurama is just a big fuzzball and he loves me. Naruto sang, poking Kurama's cheek. I will bite your finger off you brat. Kurama growled only for Naruto to laugh. Kushina still looked worried until Minato put his hand on her shoulder. I trust Naruto, and if he trusts the 9 tails then I trust Kurama. Thank you for taking care of my son. Minato turned a smile on the 9 tails. Kurama huffed and flared his tails in acknowledgement. This is Hashirama Senju, the Shodai Hokage, and his wife and first Jinchuriki of Kurama Mito Uzumaki. Naruto pointed at the two for the benefit of the Jinchurikis. Next is the Nidaime Hokage Tobirama Senju, then we have the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze Mito-san and Maika-san Kushina Uzumaki, the 9 tails Jinchuriki before me. Over here we have Itachi Uchiha, then that is Nagato Uzumaki, Konan and Yahiko of Ame, who are all on our side now. Finally we have Shikamaru Nara, some of you may know him. Naruto finished the introduction. Hey there Shikamaru. B waved at the Nara while Gaara came over and clasped forearms with the Nara with a smile on his lips. We can introduce ourselves Naruto. Yagura spoke up with the others agreeing. Whatever you say midget. Naruto smirked. I am Yondaime Mizukage, remember? I am not a midget. Yagura's eyebrow twitched. You should know you can't pull rank with me. Naruto shot back smirking and the Mizukage threw his hands up in defeat. We will start with 1 and work out way to 9, understood? Gaara spoke up. Whatever you say, O God, I'm Kaze Kage. Naruto mock-bowed before he dodged a swipe of sand from the redhead. I am Sabaku no Gaara of Suna, the future god, I'm Kaze Kage. Gaara intoned as the huge tail of Shukaku moved from its place draped around the redhead's shoulder and the head of the One Tail appeared. I am the mighty Shukaku, the One Tail. Shukaku tried to roar, but it came out more high-pitched and squeaky. Oh so mighty Shukaku, Kurama roared with laughter from Naruto's head. Gaara just sighed as he was used to Shukaku by this point. I'm Yugito ni of Kumo. Yugito bowed, her respect for cages kicking in from her down in training. I am Matatabi, the 2 tails. Matatabi purred out from her place by Yugito's feet, her 2 blue tails weaving in and around Yugito's ankles. I am Yagura of Kiri and the Yondaime Mizukage. Yagura inclined his head to the past Konoha Hokages. I am Isabu, the 3 tails, Yagura's partner. The turtle beast also nodded his head to the past Hokages from his place on Yagura's forearm where he was resting. Name's Roshi of Iwa and this guy is Son Goku, the 4 tails, Roshi said between puffs of smoke as he had been smoking when Naruto had come to bring them to battle. The Son Goku was puffing away by Roshi's feet. I am Han of Iwa, pleased to meet you all. Han didn't remove his hand from the front of his kimono, as it was habit to keep it there. I am Han's partner, the 5 tails Kokuo. Kokuo was resting on the bent elbow of Han's right arm. Utakata, a missing nin from Kiri. Utakata sent a glance at the Mizukage, who just rolled his eyes and waved his hand dismissively about Utakata being a missing nin. I am Seiken, the 6 tails. Seiken introduced himself between blowing his bubbles from Utakata's shoulder. Nice to meet you all. I'm Fu of Taki. This is Chomei, the 7 tails and my best friend in the whole world. Fu grinned, hugging the form of Chomei tightly to her chest, nuzzling her cheek against his face. Yo! I'm Killer B of Kumo and this here is the 8 tails Gyuki. We are brothers from another mother. B started to rap, but Naruto shot forward and slapped his hand over B's mouth, laughing nervously. Gyuki shook his head from his place on B's broad shoulder. Sorry to say B, but this is not the time to rap, Naruto said, and B nodded solemnly, remembering why they were all there. That's everyone. Naruto clapped his hands together, bringing attention back to himself and Shikamaru. Not quite. Shikamaru reminded his Hokage. Oh yeah, I almost forgot. Naruto grinned, rubbing his neck. Sometimes I swear I don't know why I follow you. Shikamaru smacked his palm against his forehead. Because we are brothers, because we are survivors, and because we want peace, Naruto said sagely. Then you go and remind me. Shikamaru smiled fondly before Naruto skipped over to a clearing a little ways away from the group, Kurama clinging at the blonde hair as they moved. What is he doing now? Hashirama asked Shikamaru curiously as he stood beside the Nara. Filling our ranks, Shikamaru stated with a smirk as he kept his eyes trained on the blonde who was performing a series of hand signs. Those hand seals. Mito muttered in shock. An Uzumaki Kinjutsu. Kushina breathed out. I've read about it, but I've never seen anyone use it before. Kinjutsu? Minato said, alarmed, and his eyes started over to his son who just slammed his bloodied palm against the ground by his feet. That's because even Uzumakis and their large chakra reserves do not have enough chakra to perform the jutsu successfully, not only that the user needs to have an extremely strong emotional connection to the ones they are summoning, and they need a strong mind and will to keep it together. Mito explained, and this only upped the worry for Minato and Kushina. Uzumaki Kinjutsu Kanzena Memori Hinsha, complete memory reflection, Naruto shouted, and the whole area surrounding him was engulfed in smoke. The smoke cleared enough to show Naruto standing with his arms crossed, a pleased look on his face. Fall in, he shouted. Hi. Numerous male and female voices and one bark came in response. Team 7, which I am a part of. Naruto added in for the newly arrived ninjas. Ma, Kakashi Hitake, Jounin Sensei of Team 7, and ex-Anbu Teiko. The silver-haired Jounin/Anbu stepped out of the smoke. Hitake was across his forehead, exposing both Sharingan-less eyes and the scar down the left side of his face, with his mask still firmly in place. He waved cheerfully at Minato and Kushina, who were staring at him in shock, happiness and confusion at both his eyes being visible. Yamato, Anbu Teiko and second in command of Team 7. A man with a Hapori-style Hitake framing his face, his short brown hair exposed behind it, said, bowing stiffly to the Hokage's eyes trained on Hashirama, taking in the sight of the man whose DNA flew through his veins. Sakura Haruno, apprentice of Lady Tsunade. The pink-haired Kunoichi was pulling on her fingerless gloves, the diamond in the middle of her forehead making her look more threatening to all those who knew the reasoning behind the diamond. Sai, ex-Root. A pale teen with ink-black hair and brushes attached to his back spoke next, giving the group a creepy smile. Minato hissed under his breath. He knew Danzo had not dissolved Olive Root, and this was his proof. Sasuke Uchiha, ex-apprentice of Orochimaru. You better have a good reason for me to be here, Dobi. Sasuke snarked from his place by Sakura. He had his hand resting on the hilt of Kusanagi, making Shikamaru subconsciously rub his shoulder wound. Does fighting a war count, team? Naruto snarked back out of habit. This isn't the insane version, is it? Shikamaru asked, eyeing the Uchiha warily. Do I look crazy? No way I would bring back that killer. This is the version of Sasuke that actually was helping in the war. Naruto gave Shikamaru a look. Just checking. Shikamaru smirked. That is Sasuke. You said he was safe back in the village? Itachi asked, eyeing the other Uchiha with distrust as Sasuke stared back at Itachi blankly, some emotion swirling in his eyes for a few moments. A version of him. Do not worry about it too much, Itachi. Your little brother is safe back in Konoha. Once this is all over, we will explain everything. Naruto assured the ex-Anbu. Teammate, you're up. Shikamaru called out, and the next group stepped forward. I am Kurenai Yuhi, Jounin Sensei to Team 8. Kurenai bowed, her ringed crimson eyes taking in Itachi as if she was waiting for him to pull her into a genjutsu. Kiba Inuzuka, and this is my Nika Akamaru. Kiba smiled, rubbing behind Akamaru's large ears. Shino Aburame, Shino said from behind his large collar. Eyes gazed over the group before him from behind his tinted glasses. Hinata Hyuga. Hinata bowed to the group, her hair spilling in front of her face. Team 10. Naruto called. I'm Asuma Sarutobi, Jounin Sensei of Team 10. Asuma scratched his beard, and Tobirama studied who he assumed was his student's son. Ino Yamanaka. The blonde said cheerfully, her long blonde bang hanging over her left eye. Choji Akimichi. Choji smiled at Shikamaru happily. I'm also part of Team 10, the newest generation of Ino Shikacho, Shikamaru said, pride coloring his voice, while Kushina and Minato smiled at the Ino Shikacho group, as they had been friends with their parents. Finally, Team Guy. Naruto waved his hand as Guy and Lee struck a youthful pose. I am the Jounin Mito Guy, and these are my youthful students, Guy shouted, hitting a pose in his green spandex. I am Rock Lee. Lee copied his sensei's pose as well. Hi, I'm 1010. 1010 spoke up, adjusting the buns on the top of her head. Neji Hyuga. Neji bowed his head slightly, white sleeves hanging down over his fingertips. Finally the remaining legendary Sanins. Naruto waved his arm to the two remaining figures. I am the legendary Jiraiya, the Toad Sage and Seal Master. Jiraiya gave the group a two-fingered salute with a smile on his face. Jiraiya-sensei. Minato, Nagato, Konan and Yahiko all exclaimed in surprise. God, I'm Hokage of Konoha, Tsunade Senju. Tsunade introduced herself before she punched Jiraiya out in anger. Hashirama wincing, feeling Jiraiya's pain at having a pissed-off Tsunade on his case, but he was happy to see her so well. What was that for him? Jiraiya whined. What do you think it was for, you dumbass? Tsunade raged at him, cracking her knuckles. Go for it, Bachan. Uro-Senin deserves it. Naruto cheered and Jiraiya just started to cry dramatically as Tsunade descended upon him. Minato shook his head in amazement at his son's nicknames for two of the most powerful Sanins in the 5 nations. All here and account for. Naruto smiled cheerfully with the sounds of Tsunade pounding Jiraiya into the ground in the background. Now we are ready for war. Naruto turned serious as he looked at the large group. First thing first, we need to get Obito/Tobi away from Madara and Zetsu. Shikamaru raised his index finger in front of his face. And into the seal, gotcha. Naruto nodded in understanding as he pulled out a seal from his pocket. Minato stared at it trying to figure out what it was for. It was extremely complex and didn't look like any seal he had ever seen before. It's a soul purification seal, Tosan, something of my own creation. Naruto handed it over to his father knowing that he was inspecting it. Kushina took this chance to wrap her arms around his shoulders, hugging him tightly while Kurama grumbled before he hopped off of Naruto's head and onto Shikamaru's, his tails weaving around the high ponytail. This is incredibly complex, Naruto. I'm very interested in what else you can create. Minato smiled fondly at his son, ruffling the blonde hair as he handed back the seal. Thanks, Tosan. Naruto said shyly as he blushed happily. A messenger hawk that Konoha uses suddenly flew into sight and made a beeline towards Shikamaru. Kurama hissed at the bird before it landed on Shikamaru's outstretched arm. Shikamaru quickly unscrolled the message and his face turned stormy. He patted the bird on its head before the hawk took off once more. Shikamaru? Gaara asked, seeing the look on the Nara's face. News from the others. They have found all of Orochimaru's bases. Shikamaru glanced at Naruto, who hurried over to the Nara looking just as grim. What happened? Naruto asked, Itachi inching forward to hear the news. Apparently when he and Kabuto were killed during their failed invasion attempt, it set off some sort of failsafe. Every base and every person within them were destroyed completely. Shikamaru's fist clenched, taking the paper with it. No, that bastard. Karen, Naruto hissed out, punching the ground by his feet. Who is Karen? Kushina asked her son, kneeling beside him giving him another hug. Karen Uzumaki, she was part of our clan Kosan. She could use churka chains and had healing churka. If someone bit her they would be healed. I really wanted to give her a home. Naruto explained. The remaining Uzumakis tensed up at his words. If we didn't already kill those two bastards, Shikamaru hissed, burning the scroll to get rid of the message. I know we can't focus on what is done. We have a war to stop. Naruto took a calming breath as he stood up, hugging his mother back. Obito's churka is coming this way, he is the only one who can move freely right now. Neji reported his Byakugan facing south and Hinata's was facing north. Alright, the only ones who will be taking part of this part of the battle are Tosan, Ka-san, Kakashi-sensei and myself. Konan create a hiding place and Shikamaru will use a churka deflecting seal I made to make sure you aren't detected. Naruto ordered, his whole body taking the form of what he was when he was Hokage in his future. Hi. Konan and Shikamaru agreed. Wait. If we are going to be fighting a war here, won't a village nearby be able to sense all the large amounts of churka being used? Mito spoke up suddenly. Don't worry about that. When we were gathered you all, I sent out a bunch to set up seals to stop our churka from being sensed by outsiders. Naruto smiled as he handed one to Shikamaru to use. Mito nodded in understanding and Naruto's parents grinned at how much of a seal genius their son was. The four who were going to face Obito separated from the group and watched as Konan erected a barrier that completely blended in with the surrounding area. Naruto closed his eyes and let his senses expand, searching for any churka in the area. He grinned, as he sensed none. Alright, let's move down to the field. Naruto nodded his head and the four dropped down onto the barren field below. Kakashi was perched on a boulder, elbow resting on one knee, keeping both eyes out, while Kushina kept her senses open as Minato assisted his son in setting up the soul purification seal. What is this going to do when Obito steps on it? Minato asked in a hushed voice. You'll have to wait and see, Tosan, Naruto said cheerfully as he completed the seal and backed up to stand at the base of the boulder Kakashi was perched on. I can guarantee it will be explosive. Naruto added in before Obito appeared a few feet away from the hidden seal, Tobi mask firmly in place. Don't bother with the Tobi act, Obito. Naruto held up his hand before Obito even had a chance to say a word. Naruto Uzumaki, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, I've been looking for you. Obito took off the orange spiral mask, showing his half-deformed face and single Sharingan eye. That's convenient, as I have been looking for you as well. Naruto smirked back, adjusting his Hittite once more before the battle began. Well, if it isn't my old teammate and sensei, how nice to see you all again, Obito said, malice in his voice and anger rippling across his face. Obito. Kakashi traced the scar on his face before he blinked, both of his Sharingan appearing. The silver hair copy nin disappeared from his spot in a blur. Obito tensed and whirled around in time for Kakashi's foot to connect strongly with his gut, sending him skidding backwards. Kushina, Minato shouted as he and Naruto dropped into kneeling positions. Right. Kushina threw her arms out towards Obito and golden churka chains erupted from her body and wrapped around Obito completely, the kunaians anchoring the chains to the ground. Now Tosan, Naruto shouted as he bit his thumb, spreading the blood across his right palm as Minato copied the action. Fujin. The two Namikazes shouted as they slammed their palms against the edge of the seal and watched as it glowed with QB red light and the seals lifted up off the ground and wrapped around Obito, who was struggling fiercely against Kushina's churka chains. The seal lines burned onto Obito's body and the X-Leaf ninja screamed out, blood leaking from his mouth, nose, ears and eye as the seal did its job. Is he going to be okay? Kakashi asked as he guarded Naruto's back, a bunshine doing the same for Minato. I did say it was going to be explosive, but don't worry Kakashi-sensei, Obito will be back to his old self soon, Naruto said cheerfully as the seal markings started to dim before they disappeared completely. Obito let his head drop to his chest and with a nod from Naruto, Kushina loosened her chains, lowering Obito to his knees before retracting them altogether. Obito? You in there, Obito? Naruto stepped in front of the kneeling missing nin. Where am I? Obito grumbled, rubbing the blood off his face as he looked around at the ninjas around him. Minato-sensei? Kushina-chan? Kakashi? A mini Minato-sensei? Obito's eyes widened. Yeah, that's him. Kakashi rolled his eyes as Minato gently placed his hand on Obito's shoulder. Obito-kun, what do you remember? Minato asked gently and Obito placed a hand on his own forehead. I remember everything and oh god Kakashi, Rin-chan. Oh god, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Obito placed his hands over his eyes as he hunched over, breathing deeply. The seal worked, Obito is back to his old self. Naruto announced firmly. Oh Obito-kun, it's okay, just let it all out, Kushina soothed the Uchiha as she hugged him as tears leaked from his one good eye. Thank you Naruto, Kakashi whispered to his student, getting a cheeky smile in response. You guys can come out now, Obito is on our side and back to his old self. Naruto called out, cupping his hands around his mouth, and moments later the large group appeared, the paper returning to Konan's arms. Whoa! Obito's mouth dropped open at the sight of the previously dead Hokages. This is our army against Madara and Zetsu, Naruto said smugly. No wonder we could not track down any of the Jinchurikis after Sasori and Deidara disappeared. Obito mused while Shukaku and Gaara looked much too smug after hearing his words. How far away are they? Shikamaru glanced at Neji and Hinata, who were still scanning for incoming churkas. 10 minutes from that direction. Hinata reported, pointing at the opposite side of the battlefield. Shikamaru has filled you all in on our plan, correct? Naruto looked at the group, getting nods before he let a wicked smile play across his lips. Perfect. Alright, those who have summoning contracts, this is the time to use them, and Jinchuriki's time to show me what you all have learned. Naruto ordered. Jiraiya and Tsunade leapt off the cliff as they summoned Gamabunta and Katsuyu, the two Sanins landing on their respective summons heads. May as well make it a full set. Sasuke smirked and he leapt off the cliff summoning Manda, landing on the large snake's head. Explanations later, Naruto said, glancing at Itachi, who was staring at his little brother in shock, well, as much shock as he was willing to show. My turn. Shikamaru slammed his hand in front of him, large puffs of smoke appeared as Kosetsu, Snowfall, stretched up to her full height, yawning slightly as Shikamaru dropped down onto her head. Alright Jinchurikis, let's show these shinobi how we do things. Yaguru smirked and the 8 Jinchurikis leapt off the cliffside, separating out the whole length of the battlefield, and their churka spiked up as they focused. "I can't wait to see their shrouds," Naruto said excitedly as he rocked back and forth on his heels. Each tailed beast grew to their original massive size, standing at the ready behind each of their partners looking feral and ready for a fight. Each Jinchuriki had a churka shroud covering them, splitting off into the same number of tails as their bijous and the color of the churka matching the skin/fur/shell of their animalistic partners. Gaara's body was covered in the same black tattoos as the ones that covered Shukaku's tail, and black-tipped ear hovered above his head. Yugito's nails grew into cat claws and her pupils turned feline, while blue and black flame cat ears were floating above her head. Yagura's shroud formed sharp spikes along its outline and matching horns appeared above his head. Roshi's hands, feet and ears turned ape-like to match Son Goku's. Any changes that happened to Han other than yellow-tipped ears appearing in his churka shroud were not seen thanks to his full body armor. Utakata's body seemed to be glistening and white antennae merged with the white-blue of his shroud. B had maroon horns on either side of his head and the outline of his shroud became covered in puckers much like the ones on Gyuki's tails. Fu was happily hovering above the ground thanks to Chomi's wing-like tails, and a beetle horn was settled right above her forehead. "Impressive." Naruto whistled. 2 minutes. Neji reported tensely. "Our turn, Tosan." Naruto closed his eyes and let the orange markings appear on his eyelids, showing he was in perfect sage mode. Minato looked at him in shock, but quickly jumped off the cliffside ready to bring out the yin portion of the Nine Tails churka he had sealed within himself before he died. Naruto effortlessly slipped into his tailed churka mode, Kurama growing to his full size behind the blonde. Naruto rotated his shoulders, getting used to using this form once more, and watched amused at his father's face when moments after he too transformed into his own churka mode, a darker version of Kurama appearing behind the Yondaime. "They're here." Hinata's voice echoed in everyone's mind, Ino taking up her role as communicator right away. "You know the plan," Naruto shouted loudly, and before Madara or Zetsu could even say one word to the army in front of them, they were attacked and separated from the other. Black Zetsu, seeing how outnumbered the two of them were, had white Zetsu created millions of his bunshines. Having fought this before, the Konoha ninja that Naruto recreated from his memories leapt into action, along with their summons, and started to destroy the bunshines gleefully while Black Zetsu sank into the ground, disappearing from the battle. Sakura leapt off the back of Sai's ink bird, rearing her right arm back before she slammed her knuckles into the ground. She watched pleased as the ground cracked apart, chunks of rock taking out some of the white bunshines while others fell into the crack itself. "Hell yeah! Sai, I could use a lift." Sakura cheered before she jumped high into the sky, landing on the back of Sai's ink bird once more. "Good punch, ugly." Sai smiled as Sakura's eyebrow twitched and she whacked him over the head in anger as Yamato Tashio just sighed at their antics. "Where are the others?" Sakura asked, eyeing the battlefield from their vantage point. "Looks like the Uchihas, Namikazes and Senjus are teaming up against Madara while the others fend off the white Zetsus, giving time for Shikamaru to set up the next part of the plan," Yamato reported as his keen eyes scanned the field below. "What the hell is that?" Sakura suddenly shouted as masses of white Zetsus swarmed together and morphed into one giant white Zetsu, easily the same size as the tailed beasts. The white Zetsus did this 7 more times and lumbered off to face off against bijus and their Jinchurikis. "It seems like the bijus shall be busy for the time being," Sai said as he directed his bird towards the area where the other teams from Konoha were fighting together. Finally some action, Shukaku laughed as he and Gaara charged towards the closet giant white Zetsu. Sabaku Sotaizo Fun Desert Layered Imperial Funeral Seal. Gaara raised his arms upwards as sand poured from his gourd and from Shukaku's mouth. It formed a large step pyramid around the giant white Zetsu, trapping it away. Shukaku lumbered forward and slammed his large claws against the side of it and used his Junjutsu to strengthen the seal. "Our turn, yo!" B cheered as he and Gyuki headed to the next giant bunshine. Fuin Jutsu, Okatapasu Horudo, Sealing Jutsu, Octopus Hold. B spewed ink and they formed into 1,000 bunshines of himself and they rushed the giant white Zetsu Gyuki currently had in a stranglehold, the suckers on his tails helping immensely. The bunshines surrounded the white Zetsu as Gyuki leapt out of the way and the white Zetsu became black with ink and it froze, sealed and unable to move whatsoever. "Now Roshi." Son Goku rumbled at his Jinchuriki, who nodded before he jumped up and landed on the yellow crown of Son Goku's head. "Yotan, Shikage Koken, lava style, scorching armored fist," they yelled as their bodies were covered in glowing red lava armor and they both attacked separate parts of their giant white Zetsu. Goku slammed his tails into its legs while Roshi pummeled his fist into its face, Roshi landed back on Goku's head and the two watched as the giant white Zetsu screeched as the lava and heat ate away at it, burning it to ashes. "Ready, Utakata?" Seiken asked his partner, who readied his pipe from his place sitting cross-legged on his head. "Hi, together." Utakata nodded his head. "Kairikyu, Wisdom Wolf Decay." Seiken opened his mouth and released a dense corrosive gas that spread across the giant white Zetsu they were facing. "Sanduka, Acid Permeation." Utakata blew a large acid bubble towards the white Zetsu, and when it popped it started to burn its face as Seiken's jutsu ate away at it from the bottom upwards. Two Tails Fireball. Yugito and Mutatabi snarled in sync, huge balls of fire and churka forming inches away from their open jaws, and the moment they were fired they merged together and vaporized the giant white Zetsu they were facing down. "I'll distract it, Chome. Then you finish it off." Fu cheered as she hovered in the sky next to her partner. "Right, Fu, be careful," Chome said, worried for the Taki ninja. "Hiden, Rinpungaku no Jutsu, secret, hiding in scale powder technique." Fu opened her mouth, exhaling a large amount of fine blue powder, temporarily blinding the giant white Zetsu. While the giant Bunshine stumbled about blindly, Chome flew in for his attack. Gekito Yokaku, Spear Attack Shining Horn. Chome slammed his foremost cron into the white Zetsu's chest and ripped upwards, splitting it in half in time for Fu to send a basic Katen Jutsu, size enhanced by her Churka Shroud, at it, destroying it completely. One attack as one should suffice, Isabu. Yagura deemed after studying the white Zetsu in front of him and the three tails. "I am thinking so as well," Isabu agreed as Yagura braced his feet shoulder width apart on the tailed beast's head. "Suten, Daikai Suiden, Water Style, Great Water Mass Bullet." The two cried in unison. Together they both sent numerous powerful bullets of water towards the white Zetsu and watched as it went down with many through and through holes in its body. "Looks like we have the honor of destroy the last of the giant white Zetsus, Hahan?" Kokuo glanced at his steam armor-wearing partner. "They saved the best for last, obviously." Han nodded his head. "Get ready, I'll drive it right to you." Sonuri, horn breaking. Kokuo rushed at the giant white Zetsu and slammed his horns right into its torso, pushing it back several hundred feet. Futton, Kairiki Muso, Boil Style, Unrivaled Strength. Han's armor started to vent out streams of steam, and moments later Han rushed towards his partner and his opponent with surprising speed and lashed out with a roundhouse kick. The torso of the white Zetsu was cleaved apart with one kick. Han aimed a few more punches, and with a few flicks from Kokuo's tail the white Zetsu was nothing more than a pile of useless white limbs. Damn, those tailed beasts and Jinchurikis are powerful. Kiba whistled impressed as he slammed his fist into the face of a white Zetsu, sending it back into Hinata, who disabled it with a few precise hits of her bombs. Shino hummed as his Kidashira returned to his body after eating away at a wave of white Zetsus. "Keep focused, Kiba," Kurenai reminded as she kicked a white Zetsu into Akamaru's waiting razor teeth. "Chobika no Jutsu, Super Expansion Jutsu," Choji shouted after he swallowed one of his colored pills. Using his large palm he swatted away another wave of white Zetsus that were heading towards Shikamaru, who was focused on setting up the next part of the plan with help from Nagato, Kushina, and Mito Uzumaki. Konan and Yahiko were protecting Nagato's back, not willing to leave his side for even a moment. "Are you three clear on what you need to do when Madara gets here?" Shikamaru asked, voice taking the tone it did when he was Anbu. "Commander." "Hi." The Uzumakis nodded, taking their role seriously. "Obito and Itachi should be getting over here soon." Shikamaru muttered as Sakura, Sai and Yamato dropped down next to Team Guy. "They are heading this way with Naruto," Sakura reported as she jabbed the heel of her hand into a white Zetsu's face. "Any location on Black Zetsu yet?" Shikamaru asked Sai, not flinching as Ino and Asuma destroyed white Zetsus that got close to his back. "No, it seems he is staying well hidden for the time being," Sai reported, sending a few Ink Panthers at some nearby white Zetsus. "Send a message to Lady Tsunade and Jiraiya, get them to start looking for him," Shikamaru ordered, and Sai whipped out a brush and sprawled out the message, sending it on an ink hawk. Shikamaru glanced up and saw Kosetsu cheerfully stamping on white Zetsus as she single-handedly protected the south side of their group. "I'm going to be sleeping for weeks after this workout," Kosetsu grumbled, and Shikamaru full-heartedly agreed with her. Shikamaru glanced up for a moment and spotted Jiraiya and Tsunade making a beeline for the cliffside they all had been gathered on before. They must have spotted Black Zetsu. He would lead Black Zetsu to the two Sanins for the time being. Right now they had to neutralize Madara. Even if he was being played by Zetsu the whole time, he needed to be taken out of the battle, and soon. Itachi watched as Manda's tail landed next to him and Sasuke slid down it, landing easily next to him. "Nissan." Sasuke smirked at his older brother, amused at the critical stare Itachi had directed at him. Ready to fight by my side? Until Naruto Uzumaki and Shikamaru Nara explain this to me, I shall fight alongside you Sasuke. Itachi decided as he flung off his cloak, getting ready for battle. Good luck with getting any useful information out of that dobe. Sasuke snorted as he drew Kusanagi from the large purple rope that was wrapped around his waist. Looks like Naruto and Minato-sensei are keeping Madara busy for the time being. Obito commented as he and Kakashi dropped next to the Uchiha brothers. The four turned their attention to the dual Nine-Tails and Churka-shrouded ninjas who were fighting in unison against Madara Uchiha like they had been fighting side by side for their whole lives. The Ondaime, Sasuke Uchiha and Kakashi Hitake will be fighting Madara next alongside us while Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, Obito and Itachi Uchiha will head over to meet up with Shikamaru Nara, Tobirama stated as he and Hashirama appeared next to the group of Sharingan users in a swirl of leaves. Hi. The Sharingan users agreed. Moments later Naruto appeared in a flash of orange. Keep him busy until the signal then drive him to the site, Naruto said, his voice taking on one of power, much like a cage. Let's get busy then, Owen Nisan. Thanks for your eyes. Sasuke smirked, his Mangekyo Sharingan appeared, as did the glowing red Susanoo that formed a barrier around the youngest Uchiha. Itachi stared at the sight before him, before he shook his head to clear his mind as the four remaining ninjas leapt into the fray beside Minato and the Yin Churka version of the Nine-Tails. Itachi, Obito hold on. Naruto smirked wickedly as two of his 9 Churka tails extended out and wrapped around the Uchiha's waists. Naruto dropped to all fours like a fox and took off at high speeds. Obito let out a yelp of surprise while Itachi stayed silent, far too composed to let out a sound of shock at the sudden speed. Sasuke fought mainly on his own while Kakashi fell into a familiar routine of fighting at his sensei's side while the Senju brothers made their combination of Suiten, water and Makuten, wood, jutsus. All in all Madara had to fight harder than he first thought he would have to when entering this battle. There it is, Minato shouted suddenly as a huge Uzumaki clan spiral appeared in the sky about 200 feet due west. Drive him back, Sasuke shouted as he shot a large Katen just to hit Madara's back. One after the other the Konoha shinobi attacked relentlessly, successfully driving Madara to the site. /steady, Naruto shouted as one powerful combination attack from the Senju brothers sent Madara into the Uzumaki's range. Now, Shikamaru shouted and numerous Churka chains erupted from the 4 Uzumakis who were standing on 4 corners of a shield that Shikamaru had laid out beforehand. Hold him there. Naruto ordered, getting nods from Nagato, Mito and Kushina, each one focused on keeping their Churka chains stabilized and keeping Madara immobilized. The chains were meant to restrain tailed beasts by themselves, so when 4 Uzumakis focused on keeping one ninja restrained it did the job 4 times over. Obito, Itachi, your turn to take a shot at him. Shikamaru smirked as he stepped out of the way as the 2 Uchihas approached Madara. Obito placed one hand on Itachi's shoulder and the other on Madara's and gave a grin. Hang on tight boys. Obito cackled as he activated his Mangekyo Sharingan and using his space-time dimension jutsu he brought the trio into Kamui's dimension. Madara stumbled a bit as the Churka chains disappeared, not having made the trip. Itachi activated his own Sharingan and Susanoo formed around him. The gourd in its right hand rose up and quickly it drew the Totsuka no Tsurugi, sword of Totsuka, and rushed forward stabbing Madara in the stomach. Madara coughed up blood as the legendary sword of sealing started to live up to its name. Why? You both are Uchihas, Obito, you were on my side, why? Madara asked out. Your mind is warped with hatred Madara and it ends now. Obito growled, angry at how Madara twisted and used him to kill and almost to destroy the world in his own quest for power and revenge. Itachi raised his hand and made a fist. The Totsuka no Tsurugi, sword of Totsuka, finished its job, sealing Madara away forever. That's a handy thing you have there Itachi. Obito smiled cheerfully at the Uchiha. Once we get back to the village and everything has settled down we should have a spar. It would be a lot of fun. It would be interesting to see how we fare against each other. Itachi mused and let his lips tilt upwards at the cheer and fist pump Obito gave. Hang on then Itachi. Obito smiled, grabbing the Uchiha's shoulder and warped them out of Kamui's dimension. The two landed in the same spot as before, seeing the Uzumakis tense up in case something went wrong. Madara is sealed away thanks to the Totsuka no Tsurugi, sword of Totsuka, Itachi has. Obito reported, snapping off a salute at the gathered group, spurring cheers. We have a problem, Jiraiya shouted as he and Tsunade dropped down next to Naruto and Shikamaru. Oh come on? Can't we get a break? Naruto whined. Zetsu is summoning her. We tried to stop him but Tsunade trailed off as the ground below their feet started to tremble and shake. Too late, Kaguya is coming in soon. We need a plan and fast. Jiraiya finished the thought grimly. Can't Itachi use the Tatsuka no Tsurugi, Sword of Tatsuka, on this Kaguya? Hashirama asked, confused as to why the others looked so worried. She's the goddess of Churka, she can't be sealed that easily. Naruto ran his hands down his face. Uro-Sennin is right, we need a plan and fast as Sasuke and I don't have the powers we got from the Sage of Six Paths this time around. How is he able to unseal her without Madara and his infinite Tsukuyomi? He's gone and can't be used as a vessel. Sakura asked, edging closer to her teammates. When the battle started, he must have sent out white Zetsus to nearby villages and put them in infinite Tsukuyomi after creating the needed conditions. For a vessel he must have used his own body. Shikamaru theorized, and Naruto slammed his fist into the ground, creating a small crater where his knuckles made contact. Okay. Naruto breathed out, trying to keep himself calm. Naruto, the mindscape. Shikamaru breathed out as an idea popped into his mind as he looked up at the 9 bijous that were surrounding the group. Brilliant, Shika! Naruto cheered, hugging Shikamaru quickly before he rushed over to Kurama and leapt up onto the fox's head. Kurama, the shared mindscape you and the others have. Can you all work together to create a new one? One that would either destroy or permanently reseal Kaguya and Zetsu? Naruto asked quickly. Kurama mused over the idea, as did the other tailed beasts. It's doable. Kurama reported with a wicked grin on his face. How long? Naruto asked urgently as the trembling grew and grew. Give us 5 minutes. Mutatabi purred. Naruto nodded and disappeared in a flash of orange to reappear by Shikamaru's side. 5 minutes. We have to keep her busy for 5 minutes and not get killed or sucked into her dimensions. Trust me, they are a pain to be in. Naruto glanced around the army he and Shikamaru had massed. The Churka chains can hold her down, the others can attack if needed, Shikamaru stated. Alright, you heard him. Naruto nodded his agreement and the groups moved towards where Kaguya was awakening while the bijous stayed back to work on their part of the plan. Go! Kushina shouted. Chains erupted from Mito and Nagato, wrapping around the transforming form of Zetsu from a solid distance. Naruto darted around the army, touching each of their hands or shoulders quickly, pleased as Kyuubi red Churka engulfed them, each lending them parts of his Churka as he noticed they were all looking a bit exhausted. Thanks, Nar. Shikamaru grinned as he prodded his right side gently, wincing a bit. Are you okay? Naruto asked urgently. One of the white Zetsus got a lucky shot in. Shikamaru brushed off Naruto's concern. Focus on the task at hand. You may want to add your chains now, Kaguya's power is starting to make them look a bit strained. Right, but if I found out you were hiding a wound from me? Naruto let his threat trail off as he rushed to stand beside his mother and Nagato, sending his orange-red chains out with flicks of his wrists, stopping all movements Kaguya was able to make. Are you okay, Kasan? Naruto asked worriedly as his mother's posture was slumped. I'm fine, Naru-chan, don't worry about me. Kushina beamed at her son. Naruto grumbled under his breath about the nickname and having to get revenge on Kakashi as soon as they were back in the village. Kushina just giggled at her son's antics. How much longer? Nagato asked the blonde, sweat covering his whole body. Not much longer, just hold on the best you can, Nagato. Naruto promised his cousin. I will. Nagato steeled his resolve as his eyes spotted Konan and Yahiko watching him worriedly, red Churka surrounding them, restoring them. 2 more minutes. Shikamaru told the Uzumakis. She's starting to break through our chains. Mito commented, gritting her teeth together. Darling, some help would be appreciated. Of course, dear. Hashirama moved forward to stand beside his wife. He raised his right arm and braced it with his left. Makuten, Mokusatsu Shibari no Jutsu, wood style, silent strangle jutsu. His right arm turned into a tree, many branches then extended and wrapped around Kaguya. Yamato Tashio Utu. Naruto called out. Yamato appeared a few steps behind the blonde and performed the exact same jutsu as the Shodai. I was injected with your cells, Shodai-sama. Yamato quickly explained at the questioning look he was getting from the elder Senju. Ah, well, that makes you my grandnephew then. Hashirama laughed joyfully at the new addition to his clan. Gaara threw his arms up to the side and his san locked onto Kaguya as well, with the other Jinchurikis flanking him. 1 more minute. Kage Kuba Shibari no Jutsu, Shadow Strangle Jutsu. Shikamaru knelt down on one knee, making the needed hand signs. His shadow extended out and wrapped around Kaguya, the hand clutching at her neck. Almost there. Naruto gritted his teeth, a bead of sweat rolling down the side of his face. He had never had to hold his chains for this long period of time before, and he could see the others shaking as they poured their strength and chakra into keeping the goddess contained. Back away now, Kurama bellowed as the 8 ninjas leapt back, releasing their hold on Kaguya. The exhausted shinobi stumbled back as the tailed beasts surrounded Kaguya, their eyes glowing and chakra surrounding Kaguya. Kakashi picked Naruto up under his arm, pulling the blonde back to a safe range while Minato picked his wife up bridal style. Tobirama dragged his older brother backwards while Tsunade assisted her grandmother. Konan and Yahiko slung Nagato's arms over their shoulders, pulling him back, while Asuma tossed Shikamaru over his shoulder with Choji and Ino snickering beside him. Bihu rushed forwards, ignoring Gaara saying he could walk on his own, grabbed Gaara around the waist, towing him back to a safe distance. "It's all up to the bijous now," Naruto muttered to Shikamaru as the two stood beside each other once their respective friends/family members released them. "Oju, Hakai no Hagen-tailed beast, plane of destruction." The 9-tailed beasts shouted as they flung huge balls of chakra at Kaguya, engulfing her completely. The world started to shake once more, and an inhuman roar came from within the ball of chakra Kaguya was trapped in. It started to shake and blur together as it grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared from existence altogether. Silence covered the battlefield as dust settled around the shinobis. "Did it work?" Tenten asked, the first to break the silence. The bijous shrunk down to the sizes of cats and joined their Jinchurikis. "It worked. Kaguya and Zetsu both are no more and will never be able to unsealed again," Kurama reported smugly. "Yes." Cheers went up from the gathered group, hugs and fist bumps were exchanged by the gathered ninjas. "We did it, Shika, it's all finally over." Naruto smiled blissfully as he and Shikamaru slumped against each other, their legs still somehow managing to keep them upright. "I can't believe it, Nar, but I think my chakra is at its limit," Shikamaru exclaimed. "Sleep well, Tsukoshi Shika, little dear." Kosetsu knelt down in front of the Nara and gently butted his head with her nose. "Thank you for helping me out, Kosetsu." Shikamaru petted her fur before she disappeared in a puff of smoke. Shikamaru stumbled a bit. Naruto grabbed his upper arm to keep him upright. "Let me just do this last just to." Naruto turned towards the Shodai, Nidaime, Yondaime, Mito, Kushina, and Yahiko. Uzumaki Kinjutsu Bodhi Shufuku Body Restoration. Naruto bit down on a scroll and the shinobi's bodies brought back by the Edo Tensei became human and in perfect health, showing no sign they had been corpses or brought back by the Edo Tensei. "This is amazing," Yahiko said in awe as he inspected his hands as Mito felt her face for cracks, but pleased, as she found none. "We should go to Naruto, your chakra is low," Jiraiya said, patting the blonde Uzumaki on his head gently. "Okay." Naruto nodded, throat closing up at the idea. "Hey, we are all still alive, not only back in Konoha, but also in here." Tsunade poked Naruto's chest. "I know, Bachan. Thank you all for your help. I'll call you guys back if we need a good spare or we need help before the others are ready," Naruto said, voice thick. Shikamaru rubbed his eyes as each team puffed away in clouds of smoke as they waved goodbye. "Whoa, okay, what just happened there?" Obito held his hands up in confusion at Kakashi disappearing. "They were just chakra memories. Don't worry, Obito, Kakashi is safe back in the village and I know he misses you horribly," Naruto said soothingly. "We better be off, we've all been away for too long." Gaara commented as the 8 Jinchurikis dropped out of their chakra shrouds holding their tired-tailed beasts in their arms or on their shoulders. "We understand, if it wasn't for all of you, none of this would have been possible," Shikamaru said honestly, with Naruto nodding in agreement. "I'm sure we all are glad we could be of use this time around." Yugito commented. The others who had been killed before the war had taken place gave their agreement. "Until our next powwow," Naruto said cheerfully, grunting as Fu gave him a tight hug. "We are still not going to call our meetings that." Gaara gave the blonde a glare as Fu scurried up onto B's shoulder, as it seemed to be her new favorite place to sit. "Come on, Fu, we will all drop you back in Taki and make sure they are accepting of you," Yagura promised, and Fu's face lit up. "Keep in touch," Naruto shouted as the Jinchurikis bade goodbye to the group heading back to Konoha and went in the direction of Taki. "Do we get that explanation now?" Obito asked impatiently. "Maybe later." Shikamaru's eyes were starting to droop. "Shit, my Bunshine and Akito have disappeared, I don't have enough chakra left." Shikamaru visibly winced as the memories from both of them entered his mind. "Akira and my Bunshine are disappearing too." Naruto grumbled and dropped to his knees when those memories hit him. The bases had been blown to pieces and they had only found body parts of the people working there, including Karen's head. "We'll explain everything later, we promise, just right now. Sleep." Naruto promised. Just like Anara, Shikamaru said fondly at how sleep was now Naruto's priority. Damn right, I basically live at the compound, of course I'm a Nara now. Naruto yawned and suddenly the two were surrounded in smoke and they were back to their correct ages. Their clothes had stayed intact, just smaller. The two 13-year-old chunins swayed on the spot, eyes closing, and they passed out. Minato and Itachi were the first to snap out of the shock the group had been put in by seeing the two suddenly become 13. Minato caught Naruto, heaving him up in his arms, cradling his sleeping boy who was just that, a boy. Itachi managed to put Shikamaru on his back, holding under his knees, and the Nara's arms dropped over Itachi's shoulders and head resting next to the right side of Itachi's neck. What just happened? Yahiko asked, looking at the others who all looked as clueless as he felt. Naruto, Uzumaki and Shikamaru Nara are only 13 years old, they must have been in a henge this whole time, Itachi said, as he was the only one in the group that had run into Naruto before all of this had begun. They must be exhausted, we need shelter for the night and we can speak with them in the morning before heading to Konoha. Kushina brushed Naruto's bangs out of his peaceful face. Hi. Makuten, Shichuka no Jutsu, wood style, 4-pillar house jutsu. Hashirama slammed his palms against the ground by his feet and the group watched as wood appeared from the Shodai's hands and created an inn in the cliffside in front of them. The group carefully entered the wooden house and separated into different rooms. Minato and Itachi chose to put Naruto and Shikamaru in the same room, having seen their brother ship on the battlefield and knew they would instantly look for the other ones they awoken. I'll watch over them. Minato promised Itachi, who just nodded and left the room without another word. Kushina slipped into the room next and settled between Naruto and Shikamaru. What do you think, Minato? Kushina asked her husband in a soft voice as she adjusted the blanket on Shikamaru. I have theories, but for now I am content to watch over Naruto and Shikamaru until they can explain everything to us in the morning, Minato said after a moment of thought. I think that would be best for the time being. Kushina nodded before the two settled in for a night of watching over the two 13-year-olds. Naruto groaned as something attacked his hand. It felt like millions of little wings beating against his skin in an irritating way. He cracked his blue eyes open, seeing his Tosan asleep, head resting on his crossed arms on the edge of the cot Naruto had been placed on. Naruto couldn't resist a beaming smile that appeared on his lips before he turned his attention to the irritating feeling on his right hand. His eyebrows furrowed when he saw a swarm of Shino's Kideshu forming a message across the width of his upturned palm. Naruto read the message and his face turned stormy and dark. He gave a sharp nod and the Kideshu dispersed. Naruto glanced over to where he felt Shikamaru's chirka coming from and saw the Nara watching the Uzumaki Namikaze carefully with his sharp brown eyes. Shikamaru too had seen the message and Kushina was fast asleep between their beds. Scenario 20. Naruto used Anbu hand language to get the situation across to the Raven. What's Scenario 20? Minato's voice drifted across the room. Naruto's head snapped to the side to look at his Tosan, who was stretching out his back, rubbing sleep from his eyes. I guess I forgot, as Hokage you had to learn Anbu sign language. Naruto rubbed the back of his neck sheepishly as Shikamaru slapped his hand against his face, groaning at the stupidity of his brother. The better question is, how did you two learn it? Minato eyed the 13-year-olds warily. What's going on? Kushina asked drowsily as she was roused by the voices around her. Something is wrong, Minato stated simply, seeing the dark looks on his sons and Shikamaru's faces. We'll explain when we get the others together. Naruto swung his legs over the side of the bed, Shikamaru copying the actions, and together the four headed towards the main room where the rest were awake and waiting. What's wrong? Tobirama asked, seeing the dark looks on the Chunin's faces. We just got a message sent by Shino Aburame's Kidechu. It seems Danzo and his root ninja have taken control of the village, capturing all shinobi and locking the citizens away in their homes. Shino sent a message for us, telling us Danzo has sent out root ninjas to find and capture us. Naruto explained, eyeing Shikamaru, who was checking his supplies and making sure his katana was securely attached to his back. Danzo, Itachi hissed under his breath while Minato's face turned dark as his son's. Shikamaru, go in and do recon. Naruto nodded at the Nara, who bowed back in respect before he stepped back into a shadow that was being casted by a stream of sunlight filtering in through a nearby window. Shikamaru breathed out calmly before he sunk into the shadows. What was that? Yahiko asked in awe. Shikamaru is from the Nara clan, a clan of shadow users. He just took the standard Shunshin and bent it to work with his clan's style, Naruto said absently as he rummaged around in his pouch and with a small aha, brought out a scroll. He unrolled the blank scroll and quickly and easily created a detailed map of Konoha and the outlying areas around it. We have the main point of entry that Danzo is sure to guard here. Naruto circled the front gate. However, even Danzo is not stupid enough to trespass on the forest belonging to the Nara clan here. Naruto outlined the area that held the Nara's forest. As long as Shikamaru is with us, then we can use it freely. I also discovered a different passageway to enter and leave the village in the land behind the Senju estate here. Naruto painted a circle a bit away from the Senju estate. How did you know about that passage? Tobirama asked, showing his surprise. When Tsunade Bachan became God Daime, she unsealed the Senju estate, then dragged Jiraiya, Kakashi and myself to live there with her. She was adamant after she saw my crappy apartment in the state of Kakashi's place. Naruto chuckled fondly at the memory of Tsunade dragging Jiraiya and Kakashi by their ears to the estate, telling them that they are living there now. Good. Kushina nodded her head in approval while Minato gave a small smile at the idea of all his precious people living together as a family. Until Shikamaru returns with his report, there isn't much else we can plan. Naruto muttered as he studied the map. You look like you personally hold a grudge against Danzo, Minato stated, standing beside his son as Kushina went and filled the others in on who Danzo was, and Itachi explained in a few words about how Danzo killed his best friend and forced him into becoming the murderer of his whole clan. Even Tobirama, who hated the Uchihas, winced back when he heard what happened. Well. Naruto pursed his lips together tightly, debating if he should tell his Tosan that Danzo was the reason he grew up alone and hated. He's the reason I grew up alone, Naruto said truthfully, deciding he was not going to keep this in any longer. What do you mean alone? Minato asked, eyes darkening as his mind raced with different theories. I mean, he and the council convinced Jiraiya and Tsunade Bachan that the other was looking after me and made them leave the village. Kashi-ni-san then said that Danzo was the one who told him to become an Anbu, to get his emotions under control from what happened that night with Kurama. Danzo then stopped all his attempts to find me until Kashi-ni-san spotted me in the academy, and that's when he left the Anbu to become my Jounin-sensei. Naruto explained. By this time the whole room was listening and he found himself squished between both his parents in another hug. Both his parents were seething with anger at Danzo and full of sadness for their son. Who knows what else Danzo has done from the shadows? Itachi growled under his breath, his rage at Danzo building up once more. The reason I believe he acted now was because Bachan has been ignoring him and undermining him as God Daime, taking power away from him. Danzo would not like that, and he was against her becoming God Daime in the first place. With Shikamaru and myself away from the village, it would give him the best chance to strike. Naruto explained, placing his hand against his chin in a thinking position. I'm back. Shikamaru spoke up out of the blue as he stepped out of a shadow, his face emotionless like an Anbu. Shikamaru sat in front of the map Naruto had drawn out and without a word started to mark out locations of root ninjas. They have the academy under their control, keeping all the students and senseis trapped inside it. That must be what he is using to keep the God Daime and the other more powerful shinobis under control. Shikamaru spoke with no emotion, but Naruto could see how his fingers tightened on the brush. Root ninjas are spread throughout the village. However, behind the Hokage monument and the Nara forest, it is clear as are the estates that belong to the Hokages of the past. Danzo's main area of operation is the ring where the Chunin fights were held. He has the most powerful shinobis kept there inside a churka blocking barrier. An addition seal had been added on so that anything that touches the barrier will be electrocuted. Shikamaru reported, making a dark circle around the academy and the arena. That bastard. Who is being held in the arena? Naruto swore under his breath before he sat down opposite of his best friend. You wouldn't believe it. Shikamaru snickered, his emotionless facade breaking. He can't be that stupid. Naruto gasped. I bet he thought he was being clever. Shikamaru kept snickering. Who did he put in the arena? Hashirama asked, curious now. Lady Tsunade, Jiraiya, the Sun Daime, Kakashi, Iruka-sensei who looked like he was just by Kakashi at the wrong time, Asuma, Kurenai, Guy and all their students, plus my Tosan, Inoiki-san, and Choza-san. Shikamaru reported, and Naruto just laughed into his hand. He's doomed. Naruto breathed out through his laughter. Looks like we may not have to do much at all, Shikamaru said smugly. I've got it, Naruto said brightly and placed an X on the front gates. I'll summon Jiraiya and Tsunade from my memories once more, and they will summon Gamabunta and Katsuyu at the front gates to become a distraction. As Danzo has Jiraiya and Tsunade in the arena, he will want to know who summoned them and he'll send root members to the gates. While that is happening, 3 teams will be coming in from the Nara forest, the passage behind the Senju estate and behind the Hokage monument. Naruto placed 2 more X's on the 3 previously stated areas. The team that will be moving through the passage behind the Senju estate will be the Shodai, Mito Uzumaki and the Nidaime. You 3 will take out any root members you come across in the village. Do not kill, just knock unconscious and restrain. Naruto looked at the three, feeling a bit uneasy about ordering the previous Hokages around, but to his relief they nodded in agreement. It will be a good way to get reacquainted with the village, Tobirama said, no excitement in his voice, but Naruto could tell it was there. Besides, if a root member does tell Danzo he was taken out by the dead Shodai, his wife and the Nidaime, Danzo will never believe him, Hashirama said, not bothering to hide his excitement, and Mito just smiled at the idea. Shikamaru will lead the group entering from the Nara forest that will head to free the academy. Danzo must be using that as a hostage, otherwise Bachan would have taken out that barrier holding them by now with her strength. That group will be Shikamaru, Konan, Nagato and Yahiko. Shikamaru, once you finish there you will meet up with my group. Nagato, I am trusting you, Konan and Yahiko, to keep the children safe, if anything happens to them. Naruto trailed off looking at the Ame ninjas. Nothing will happen to the children, you have our word. Konan swore, her eyes fiery, clearly her maternal instincts kicking in, and the two men beside her nodded their agreement, looking just as determined. Nagato, mention your last name to a student named Konohamaru Sarutobi. He is the Sundaime's grandson and Mayatoto. Tell him you're my cousin and he will help you in any way he can. Naruto looked at his cousin, who nodded, making a mental note to find this Konohamaru, while Tobirama had to wonder how old his student was if he had grandchildren now. Finally, Tosan, Kasan, Itachi, Obito and myself will be coming in from behind the Hokage monument. I'll summon Kurama there, and that alone will scare off the root ninja, and if Kurama is shown as someone who is helping retake the village instead of destroying it, he will not be seen as a horrible monster anymore. While Kurama is doing that, we will make our way to the arena to face off against Danzo, where Shikamaru will meet up with us. When it is all finally finished, we will send up the Uzumaki clan spiral as a signal once more. Team 1 will meet with Team 2 at the academy before meeting the rest of us at the Senju estate. Am I understood? Naruto finished outlining his plan to the group. Hi. The room answered him, and Naruto moved away from the map to let Team 1 and 2 start to memorize their needed routes and backup routes. Are any of them injured? Naruto asked Shikamaru in a low tone as the two leaned against the far wall watching the room. Bruised and covered in dirt and some cuts, showing they put up a good fight before they were taken, but no fatal injuries. Just some old-fashioned anger and glares, all aimed at Danzo. He has 2 bodyguards with him. It's Sai and Shino's childhood friend / brother Torune Aburame. Shikamaru reported in a voice just as low as Naruto's. Damn, that must be destroying Shino. Naruto rubbed a hand over his forehead. He looked like he was having a hard time trying to keep it together. Shikamaru admitted. I want to talk with you two for a minute if that's alright. Minato stood in front of the 2 Chunins. Of course, Tosan, Naruto said, his whole demeanor brightening at the sight of his father. I have a theory that's been swimming around in my head for a while now. Just let me know if I'm completely off base here or not. I think you two are time travelers, Minato said in a very low voice. You know, you and Shikaze Tosan should really have a shogi match. I would love to see who wins, Naruto said, laughing a bit. You are correct, Yondaime-sama. Shikamaru inclined his head and Minato let out a puff of air. Was the future truly that horrific? Minato asked, worried about the answer he would get. That battle we just fought? It went much worse in our timeline, so bad the 4th Shinobi War became the last war, as every single person in the 5 nations was dragged into it and destroyed. Shika and I were dying when Kurama did a space-time jutsu and brought us back to our Junon days to make sure none of those events came to pass, and I have to say we did a damn good job. Naruto explained. How old are you two really? Minato asked, shoulders slumped and a dark hollow look appearing on his face. He had fought in the 3rd Shinobi War and that was awful on many levels. He could not imagine what the 4th that destroyed the 5 nations could have been like. In body we are both 13-year-old freshly minted Chunins, but mentally and churka / ability wise? We are either 16 or 17, maybe even 18. Time merges together when you're always on the front lines. I'm at a level higher than Elite Jounin, but below Kage, and Nar is on a completely higher and different level than Kage. Shikamaru answered honestly. Oh god. Minato breathed out. Don't worry about it, Tosan. Things are solved. There will be no war if we have any say in it, and we will be able to have a childhood again. Everyone will, and we can all be together again, Naruto said cheerfully, hugging his father around the waist, happily inhaling his scent, trying to memorize it. Minato desperately hugged his son back, and Shikamaru smiled happily at the sight before him. Finally Naruto would have a real family and he would no longer be alone, in the blood relation aspect. Danzo couldn't help but feel victorious as he looked down at the barrier holding Konoha's finest many feet below him. He was sitting on the Hokage's chair in the box that housed the cages during the Chunin exams, flanked by 2 of his best and youngest root members, Sai and Torune. The one fly in his good mood was that there was no news of the Kazama twins, Nara and Jinchuriki brat from any of his route trackers he had sent out. It was like the four had disappeared from the face of the earth. He scowled and stood up from his chair and made his way down to the arena's floor to question the shinobi about the missing Chunins and Jounins. "Are you comfortable?" Danzo asked mockingly as he approached the barrier. The Jounins looked exhausted, covered in dirt, bruises and blood. They had been herded into the center of the barrier by their dirtied, bruised and bloodied senseis who had formed a protective ring around the group while the heads of the Inoshikacho clans, the Sundaime and the two Sanins made up the outer ring. "What do you want, Danzo?" Tsunade spat in anger. She hated this man more than she had ever hated anyone before. She could not even make a move because if she did, then who knows what this horrible man would do to the children he had trapped in the academy. "I want information on the locations of Akira and Akido Kazama, Shikamaru Nara, and Naruto Uzumaki," Danzo ordered, noticing how all of them tensed up at his words. "So you haven't found them yet?" Tsunade asked, pride in her voice. "I would not test my patience, Lady Tsunade," Danzo spat out. "I simply wish to know where they are." "You will never find them," Jiraiya said confidently. "I will find them. I will never stop searching until I have them in my grasp. See, Akira and Akito have been a pain in my side since they appeared during the Chunin exams and I want them dead. Shikamaru Nara on the other will make an excellent addition to Root. His strategic mind and clan abilities will make him an perfect tracker and assassin," Danzo explained smugly. Shikaku growled and Jiraiya had to stop him from doing anything foolish while Inoiki and Chosa had to hold Ino and Choji down at hearing the threat against their teammate/childhood friend. Asuma gritted his teeth harshly and Kurenai gripped his forearm tightly to stop him from moving towards Danzo. "Now Naruto Uzumaki, how amazing will it be to have the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tailed Fox at my beck and call. He and the tailed beast will be my ultimate weapon. With them at my command the 5 nations will fall under my control," Danzo said, a glimpse of insanity shone in his one visible eye. The Jounins gasped in shock at this new information. They had no idea Naruto was the Jinchuriki for the Nine-Tailed Fox that had destroyed the village 12 years ago, but when they talked in hushed tones amongst themselves and soothing words from Iruka-sensei, who was standing by Kakashi, they decided Naruto was Naruto, not a demon fox, and things just made more sense about his abilities and why the villagers hate him. Iruka almost used his big head jutsu to get them to understand, but when he pointed out what Naruto had done for each of them and how he was, the Jounin realized that he was still the blonde they knew. "You will not be getting your hands on any of them," Hiruzen swore, still protective of his citizens, more so of Naruto and his best friend Shikamaru. A hawk flew down and landed on Danzo's shoulder holding a message. Danzo scanned the message and smirked pleased before the hawk flew off. "I had some of my members do some digging. It appears that Akira and Akito were just hinged bunshines this whole time, created by Shikamaru Nara and Naruto Uzumaki. Those two are more powerful and smarter than I first thought. They will be perfect pawns for me." Danzo smirked at the confused and outraged looks on the shinobis before him. Suddenly a loud boom echoed across the village as smoke rose up from the front gates. Every head snapped over to look. Into their utter confusion and surprise, Gamabunta and Katsuyu appeared from within the smoke, making their way through the large gate. "How is that possible?" Danzo roared in anger, glaring harshly at the two Sanins who looked just as confused as he felt. Jiraiya knew Naruto could have summoned Gamabunta, but Katsuyu was a complete mystery. Tsunade still had the contract and no one else had signed it, even if the god Im planned on letting Sakura sign it later on in her training. "Don't look at us," Jiraiya said, holding his hands up before another loud boom was heard and smoke appeared from behind the Hokage monument. All the heads turned in that direction, and to their horror/surprise, a huge bright red nine-tailed fox rose up from it. He let out a loud roar as he made his way down towards the village. No, that is not possible," Danzo screeched in anger/terror. "Naruto," Jiraiya whispered in horror, "if the Nine Tails had been released, then that meant he can't be." Tsunade placed a hand over her mouth. She knew giving that brat the Shodai's necklace would get him killed. "What does that mean?" Sakura asked Kakashi, worried. The copy nin's eye drooped. "If the Nine Tails has appeared like this, that means the Jinchuriki is dead and the seal has been broken," Kakashi said miserably, and many of the Jounin gasped in shock and all eyes moved back to the Nine Tails. "Oh, calm down. Your screaming is hurting my ears. I'm not here to destroy anything. I'm just here to stop Root and Danzo from taking over your damn village at the request of the blonde brat," Kurama grumbled, voice heard throughout Konoha. This calmed the ninja's fears of Naruto being dead, but it only brought up more questions. "That should not be possible," Danzo hissed. He spun on his heels and his eye was brought to the box where Sai and Torine were standing, or at least were supposed to be standing. They were unconscious and tied to the chairs there with ninja wire, all done silently without Danzo noticing. "You better get used to the impossible, Danzo," Akira called out as he and Akito dropped down into the stadium, smoke covering the two as they went. Out of the smoke came Naruto and Shikamaru in battle-worn outfits. The two landed in different positions. Naruto stood with his flame-designed cloak billowing in the breeze and arms crossed, Raijin at his waist. Shikamaru was kneeling next to the blonde with a smirk on his lips, Kage no Uchi gripped loosely in a horizontal position in his right hand that was thrown over his bent right knee and a trench knife on his left hand ready for use. His usually pulled-back hair was down around his shoulders. "You two really are Akira and Akito Kazama," Danzo said in triumph. "Guilty as charged." Naruto wiggled his fingers at the others in the barrier. "How else were we going to save the Sun Daime and kill Orochimaru?" Shikamaru asked, raising an eyebrow. "No one would have believed two Shinans did it, so we had to make a plan. We are sorry for lying to you, but it was necessary to save the village from the invasion by Otto," Naruto said, looking guilty at his precious people behind the barrier. "Oishika, what happened to your hair?" Naruto eyed the Nara whose long black hair was hanging by his shoulders, strands in his eyes. "One of the deer was thrilled to see me, but didn't want me to go," Shikamaru said, blowing a strand of his hair out of his eyes annoyed. Naruto just snickered at the sight and the annoyed look Shikamaru was now sporting. "Enough. Shikamaru, Nara and Naruto Uzumaki, submit yourselves to me and I will not kill your friends here," Danzo ordered, stepping towards Naruto and Shikamaru. "Don't you ever come near my son or his best friend Danzo." Minato snarled as he appeared in a yellow flash next to his son, Kushina appearing next to him in a swirl of leaves. "I don't like what you did to my family, Danzo, you're going to pay for that." Kushina cracked her fists, hair flowing up behind her like Kurama's tails. "Get in line." Itachi grunted as he and Obito appeared on the free side of Shikamaru. "You're late," Naruto said casually to the S-rank Rouge Ninja. "I had to chase him down, he's tiring," Itachi said in his defense, eyes flickering over to the barrier, finding Sasuke right away. His eyes narrowed at the dried blood and bruise on his little brother's face and around his neck. Sasuke was looking back at Itachi with wide eyes. "I like to think I'm exciting, I hadn't seen the village properly in years." Obito whined, waving cheerfully at Kakashi who had stumbled back a few steps, making Iruka steady him. I blame you completely." Naruto deadpanned to Itachi, who smirked a bit. "Why is he covered in bandages?" "It's worse than Kakashi's mask." Obito wrinkled his nose as he took in what Danzo looked like. "The Yondaime and Itachi Uchiha," Danzo stammered, his victorious feeling disappearing as it gave way to fear and his mind spun trying to think of a way out of this. "Just sit tight guys, we'll finish Danzo off once and for all and then we'll all sit down and have a nice long talk," Naruto promised the others, who were all staring at the group in utter shock, eyes narrowing as he took in their states. "If you make one move against me, I'll shrink the barrier and all of them will be killed," Danzo cried out in triumph. "Just try it," Naruto snarled. Danzo went to make the needed hand seal, but found he couldn't move his body at all. What?" he shouted in outrage. "Kage main Shuriken no Jutsu, Shadow Possession Shuriken Jutsu, successful," Shikamaru said smugly, dropping his now empty left arm. Danzo's shadow was pinned to the ground behind him with Shikamaru's trench knife. Shikaku and Asuma looked proud, if a bit confused at the perfect use of both their signature justice/weapon. "You are getting really sneaky when using that," Naruto commented. "Thanks, I practiced by following the other teams around and catching them off guard," Shikamaru said smugly as he stood up. "It's time for you to show everyone what's under those bandages, Danzo," Naruto commented lazily, and with a flick of his wrist Shikamaru shot forward and with one fluid slash the Nara had sliced open all the bandages, the cloth being eaten away by darkness. Jiraiya, Hiruzen and Shikaku's eyes widened slightly at the use of the exact same technique and movements as Akito had used during the invasion, thus proving to them that Naruto and Shikamaru were truly Akira and Akito Kazama. The head of the Nara clan nodded to himself. Things were starting to line up. With the bandages gone, there was nothing to stop everyone in the arena from seeing how Danzo's body was covered in hundreds of Sharingan eyes. Sasuke slapped his hands over his mouth to stop himself from retching. Sakura gripped his elbow in silent support while the Sandaime rubbed the young Uchiha's shoulders. Itachi let out an audible snarl at the sight before him as his own Sharingan appeared, while Obito hissed like an injured cat at the sight. Sure, he had hated his clan's way of thinking, but this was not what should have happened to them. "You bastard!" Kushina screamed. Mikado Uchiha had been her best friend and she had other friends among the clan that possessed the Sharingan. "Naruto, normally I would not condone killing a man without a fair trial, But for Danzo, I think what needs to happen is clear. Minato's face was thunderous. Together then, Itachi? Naruto nodded at his Tosan. If we must, Itachi agreed. Naruto smirked and closed his eyes. Orange-red markings appeared over his eyelids showing he was in sage mode, his pupils slitted and his canines grew as his whiskers darkened. Orange Churka outlined him and formed 9 tails as Kurama roared with power in the background, already done his job and currently trying to doze behind the Hokage monument before he disappeared in a puff of smoke. He vaguely heard Jiraiya protesting at Naruto using the power, at forming too many tails, but he just went on with what he was doing and combined his power with the newly returned Kurama's. For the crimes you have committed against my family, the Uchihas and countless others, you are sentenced to die, Naruto said in an emotionless Anbu tone of voice, his voice merging with Kurama's deeper one. Itachi used his Sharingan and black flames of his Amaterasu covered the left half of Danzo's body, making the man cry out in pain and fear. Blood started to seep out of Itachi's right eye. Seeing this, Naruto leapt forward in sync with Kurama and shoved his claw's hand through Danzo's chest, having made a small Rasengan in his palm beforehand. It's over, Naruto said with his and Kurama's voice forming a dual tone as he jumped back as Itachi's Amaterasu ate away at the rest of Danzo's body, leaving nothing but ash in its place. Itachi let his eyes fade back to Onyx and wiped away the blood as Naruto let his Churka shroud fade away along with Sage Mode. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on my other social media accounts. Anime God here, and I'm signing off.